Getting active early in the morning. Early in the morning, bro. It's a little bit nippy outside. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna put this hoodie on. You know what I'm saying? But we get active. Best and believe we get active. Should I be eating a bowl of cereal this early in the morning? Should I be eating cereal, period? No. But you know why I'm doing it? Because I'm a thug. You know what's crazy? A word that was meant to degrade us is now a term of endearment. How backwards is the world? You know? And a word that was a term endearment is a word that degrades us now. You know what I'm saying? I'm eating Frosted Flakes with cinnamon. That's bust. I started doing that a couple of days ago. I'm not gonna lie. I do weird things in my cereal. Like I warm it up in the microwave for like 30 seconds. Just to take the chill off, you know what I'm saying? So like, listen. In every person's life, there's a moment where they catch a epiphany or a realization that the world does not revolve around them. And what was mine? I don't remember. I got so many times, you know what I'm saying? I had that moment so many times, I started thinking I was a background character. But the way I see it as a blessing. Mainly because of the fact, I think when I was younger, I had like main character syndrome. And people was feeding into it too, you know? So it made it worse for my child ego because everybody was feeding into it. I didn't care how people thought of me, how people think. I didn't care if I hurt their feelings or not. If I saw bullshit, I called bullshit. And maybe at the time it was cool, you know? At the time, it made me feel like I was top of the world. I was fearless. And then the realization that life can be taken away from you so quickly made me snap back to so-called reality. You know, when I saw I saw my cousin die, as you know, that hit me hard to the point where I'm like, damn. This is like after, way after it. That's when it really hit me. It hit me after and after. Months passed, and I was like, damn, I'm really gone. And you only got one life, so use it sparingly, I guess. Some people say life is too short to be mysterious. I think not. Life is too long to be not mysterious. If you're an open book, nobody wants to read you. If you're a closed book, everybody wants to read you and see you. You know? As humans, we're supposed to be indifferent. That we unite since the diversity. Right? But I feel like you can get that in any philosophy or any psychology or any sociology class. But what you also can get from the class is that the world has been broken for so long, it doesn't know what it looks like to be fixed. Right? There's things that were built to, so-called keep us in check, but also influence us from evolving to the next level. Class consciousness is just a so-called folk's tale to some beings, In other places of the world, outside looking in, we look horrible. In the inside looking out, we still look horrible. But in some areas of the world, we look great, We look like the modern day free world, third world that everybody wants to be in. But then if you stay long enough, you tend to see every crevice has its own snake and bug, right? This how like Japan did a full rebrand of what the massacres they did. It's crazy. And I fell for the propaganda. I still want to go there. They don't look so fire. But they don't like people that look like me, They're more straight on it. They're not subtle with their racism. They're like, we don't want you here. But I respect that though. I respect it. Now, Korea, like South Korea, I don't know. I think they're like more racist too. Even though I'm, part, but you can't ever notice this, so like I'm just saying I'm black. Like when you go to different countries, you don't say your ethnicity, you just say where you're from. You'll be like, oh, you're American. Yeah, you're American. That's it. It don't matter what type of American, you're just American. They grip you all in one big circle. And that circle tends to collapse when I'm just American, There's a stigma towards Americans across the world, internationally. But they do love some of our characters down here, like Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson. I think that's it. I think that's the only people that people like internationally. Music, those two. Or maybe like, I think that's it for real. Like on that type of level, the rest of it is, But what am I rambling about? Honestly, I don't know. This video was supposed to be categorized in the term of why is the word oversaturated, overused to the point where it is mean for a derogatory term, right? Because back then, being woke was one of the most prosperous thing to be claimed as. It's like an honor to be claimed as woke, But when you're so woke, you tend to see that everything's a joke. So why be woke if you can't change anything about it? And I'm like, says who? You don't gotta be a full-on radicalist or be in politics to understand that the world we live in is not so fitting for people of different preferences, But I feel like we've been indoctrinated for our whole life to make it seem like every microaggression is not attack, but only a sly joke, But it's like you hearing about a dog being, sick. You love dogs, but then you hear every day and years on end. You're like, bro, Okay, I can't do shit about that dog, bro. Tell that dog shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you become numb to it to the point where you're like, bro, I'm tired of hearing this, bro. We know y'all struggling. We're just not gonna change it, bro. Just suck that shit up like the rest of us. Like, okay, bro, we get it, bro. We went past the finish line, but the shit was moved. We get it, bro. We're tired of hearing that shit. It gets to a point, you know? But that's not... Hey, little bro, I see you. Back up. Trying to get to the bowl with the cinnamon. You ain't slip. But it does get to a point, you know? When you tend to think like, dang, we talked about it so much that they're tired of hearing it. It was cool when it was a joke. It was cool when, you know, you slide it in with a little bit of comedy, you know, to ease the pain of the racism, you know what I'm saying? So it makes them feel like they're not attacked, you know, the people are fearful of the truth. So if you soften the landing with a couple pillows and a couple lies and a couple facades here and there, and you lay them down, and then you take the pillows off, it won't hurt as much instead of just not having the pillows and letting them hit the concrete. But what I see is you have to be older than what you look, which is a crazy term for me, you know? I never wanted to be stuck in a category like, oh, this, because, you know, I'm not, you know, just being blatantly, you know, not, you know, blatantly naive or, you know, oblivious to the fact that people that look like me or so-called talk like me, their lives are, you know, may not be for the worst, but are a little bit harder than others. But it's been like that for so long. They tell you to suck that shit up, so you can't complain. So wouldn't even call myself a man, but as a black teen, you know what I'm saying? You tend to see that you are used as a subjugator, a object of example of what you have to strive to be. You must be double the excellence just to be mediocrity. You know, you have to know your shit. You gotta be on top of your shit. Your P's and Q's, you gotta double that. Even for the black girls, you gotta be on double that. And that's why we're so divided by race and gender, to the point where diversity used to be our strength to unify, but now it's a tool for a weaponized source. You know, we're all worried about, well, if we have this problem, you have this problem, are you saying your problem bigger than my problem? So the comparison tends to, you know, demonize the full plot and the thought that's trying to go hand to it, you know. But there's no matter how I put it, somebody will misconstrue or misconnect it. So using big words is not going to change the fact what it is, you know. It seems in almost every area, it's I see as the black boy has been used and aged up mentally and physically, as we're seen as more mature at an early age, so we are used as a tool for examples. Not even more of a sexual context, more of, oh, he's more mature. And it's used so much that we have become desensitized to the point where black boys and black children in general has been losing their childhood in essence. And that's not even on the fact of how child rape is so indoctrinized in the black community, but nobody wants to speak about that. So many kids have been touched and unspoken for that when they come to the age where I am at or older, they're messed up in a mental way that's so crucial they cannot make emotional connections without spazzing. And would I say that is me? No, I've been fucked up since I was born. Like that head up here, mentally distraught, chemical imbalances. But I would never put that on myself, though. So many kids have been undiagnosed with illnesses or discrepancies in their brain, mainly due to the fact that it's shown as weakness. And the scary part of that is, black families will they will hide a child toucher, but they won't confide in a man that's homosexual or a girl that is homosexual, like in the same gender. Those are villainized and more on enviness with those type of things than more than a person who has mentally and physically torn a being of your same attributes in your family. That's why I say the black family is broken on so many levels that it's been washed away to the point where, that's just growing up as a black person. You got to get used to that. That happened. That's almost in every story. I was going to say the cliche, like I can't count how many times, females are similar calibers or different calibers have been, open to me about their situation. I never understood why they would come to me of all people, because I always had the facade or the alter ego of just being this funny guy. But when I'm alone, I see there's so much pain in the hearts of others that not only would I try to relinquish that or adhere to their problems, because I know it's unfixable. The damage is already done. You could seal it up. You can seal the pavement with cracks, seal it up, make it smooth again, but deep down, those cracks are still there. You may cover it up, and you may put on a smile, but what went down will never be shown to the fullest capability, And the way I see it, I used to overanalyze everything to the point where even the videos I used to make were more on like, am I just doing this because I saw somebody else doing this? Is this so-called expression, or I'm being inspired by this video? So even with that, when it came to this, I started intaking less and less and less visual content on my phone and more just reflecting on myself, because everybody tends to slide their own compliments as weaknesses until they're like fish baiting, be like, well, a lot of people don't know how to do this, but I for some reason always knew how to do that. I always knew how to do that. It's even I used to do it. Shit, I still do here and there, where they'll tend to subjugate themselves in a particular box where other people can't be in, so they make themselves feel special in some areas. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with giving yourself compliments here and there, and bragging about your accomplishment, because the most scariest thing is a black individual confidence, a black individual that is intelligent. But I feel like we have been indoctrinated to the point where they think you have to dress a certain way and speak a certain way to induce and invoke emotions and intelligence, right? It makes you think that, so I have to look a certain way and talk a certain way to be seen as intelligent, even if I am not. So, when I taught them, because I don't even have a circle. Shit, I got like a small ass triangle of only a couple people that I talk to, a triangle of that. And then when I speak to the individual, I'm like, I don't, like, that's low-key some cornery shit you're talking about, Low-key some cornery shit you're talking about, but I guess, I feel like you just don't know. You just don't know. So instead of berating them with insults and telling them they're an idiot, you try to encourage them to look in a different view, but I guess sometimes they're so stubborn they won't see it. So it's okay. The brandish of being too woke is the messenger. It's the way you mesh into things you say. Because if you be like, well, you're this, you're that, because you don't understand this and that in politics, it tends to do something to the brain, like, you know, in a way where they're not going to hear you because you're berating them and you're belittling them, trying to tell them they don't know something instead of teaching them. Because where do you get the gall to tell them something that they don't know with a in a way that is not rude but also belittling, you know? But you know, we can go circles and circles every day of how almost each system of the world is damn near backstabbing a being that looks like me, right? And rather than changing it, we rather want you to hear than without complaining. You know, you being here just to watch it is better than anything else. Because I feel like everything has been so numbed out to the point where being an activist or being a protester is just a hobby, you know? Everything's just a hobby now. Even this video I'm creating right now will just be another video in the millions of videos about complaining about how life is hard for an individual that looks like me. You know, I would just be put in another box. So my question is, who put you in the box in the first place? Why are you even in a box mentally? They say mental pain is worse than physical pain, but I feel like you haven't endured enough physical pain to understand that. You know, maybe you are weak-minded to say that, but everybody's opinion is different. Everybody has a right to their wrong opinion. But honestly, I feel like we're just going in circles, so yeah, we might have to stop this video. We're probably gonna make a couple today, actually, so y'all be ready for that. But it won't just be me just talking about something and then just go to a next topic, because I feel that's what a lot of people do. They talk about it, go to the next thing, enlighten you a little bit, and then go back to the entertainment and distraction. But there's nothing wrong with indulging in, you know, not the biography, but the, you know, the idiocracy. Not the is it the idiocracy? Nah, idiocracy. Yeah, the idiocracy of life, because you can't change everything in one moment of standard just by saying something or being awoke about it, you know? So rather than seeing everything that is diminishing to a culture or a being, you sit back, you and take it, and you just make a mental note. And with that, I was gonna stop it, but we'll push it to 25. We'll push it to 25. And with that, you can't correlate your success by knowing the insults that are given, the sly disses that are given. Shit, even with color, not the color of the skin, but the color of a page. How white and black has been miscrewed for so many years that you see black as a demonic, evilish thing, and you see something white as a pure context of peace and tranquility. Put a white flag up is surrendering, or a peace treaty. Put a black flag up, demonic, stealing. Oh, what is a black flag? Not a gaming black flag. What is a black flag used in general? The sign of doves for marriages and something new, crows and ravens for death, you know? But I guess those are the easiest comparisons, even yin and yang. Everything broke down in a small, simplistic view. You see how the world has been misconstrued for many years, you know? But it's either you complain about it, live in it, or you try to change it. And I do all three. I do all three. Because, you know, I am seen as young and dumb, so you got to keep it as that. You know, some people are so self-aware they tend to turn cringy and they be like, I'm better than you. You know, they have like a condescending tone when they're trying to teach you something. You know, or they fake being humble. Hold up, man. I'll be right back. It might be a little bit too cold for Deuce over here, because he look like he's shaking. So I'm gonna go put him up so he can get some heat. But y'all boys Everybody have a blessed day, and I see you tomorrow.